Hey guys, this is the mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today as I take a deeper look into the Belle Collective reunion, episode 2, part 2. I'm not going to do a full recap as there are other content creators who do a great job of this. Instead, I'm going to focus on specific segments of the episode that I believe could be used as teachable moments for myself and the audience. First, some announcements. The astrology course for beginners is going to be available on October 17th, 2022. That is next Monday. Yay! I'm also going to be publishing my astrological analysis of Kadeem Hardison, Jim Norton, and Jasmine Guy's relationship. And I'm also going to publish the tarot readings for the week today. So, basically, Latisha finds out that Glen did not father a baby outside of their relationship, and she seemed relieved. Marie's face was like, so what? Everybody else was so happy and crying for her, tears of joy, relief for her. Marie was like, whatever, because, and I would have been like Marie too, because the baby was not the initial offense, right? The initial offense was having unprotected sex with a woman to the point where paternity would even be a question in the first place. That is the problem. And I don't think Latisha or anybody else on the cast, except Marie's face, acknowledged this. The problem is not necessarily the baby, right? The problem is the act that could have led up to a baby outside of the relationship. People put too much emphasis on the evidence of the crime versus the crime being committed anyway. So just because I don't have evidence of it happening doesn't mean that it did not happen, right? And that is how a lot of men operate. If you can't prove it, it didn't happen. Even though you're having infections, and even though your pH levels are off, and even though you're seeing text messages in the phone, if you haven't caught me with the woman with my penis in her, then your fears are unsubstantiated and you're being paranoid and cagey and a nag, right? So the issue between Latisha and Glen was not about the pregnancy. It was about the act that led up to the pregnancy. It was about the infidelity in the first place. And so Glen saw Latisha's relief, right, as an opportunity to pledge his undying love for her. I'm sorry. See? I love you so much that my sperm would not allow themselves to impregnate another woman. Okay? This is what he was giving me. Like, he acted as if the reason why he didn't get another woman pregnant is because he loved her so much. Like, it wasn't because of circumstance or happenstance, right? Or just luck and probability. No. I mean, he was obviously smashing a loose woman for this to be in question in the first place, which is another reason why Latisha should not forgive him, because he's sticking his penis in women who have various men doing the same thing to her. So now he can bring his wife an infection home. I had to calm down because, I was laughing too hard. Okay, so Glen was acting as if his penis loved Latisha so much that it did not allow his sperm to fertilize the egg, okay? This is what is hilarious to me. He was acting as if, like, he did her a favor. See? I love you so much. This didn't happen. You don't get points for not getting the girl pregnant, right? You get points for not cheating in the first place. Or, if you did cheat, you at least use protection to the point where this paternity would not be in question. That's where you get points. Not because you didn't get the lady pregnant. And the fact that you were sleeping with a woman, that Glen was sleeping with a woman who had other men around the same time, is an extra violation. You knew you was messing with somebody sloppy, and you could have brought your wife home some diseases. That's the problem, okay? So Glen was acting as if this was an opportunity for them to reunite, and Latisha was like, oh, we're going to work this out, I love you, and all this other crap stuff. I want to get back to us again, all this other bullshit. And Marie was like, whatever, because she rolled her eyes like, whatever. Like, that's not the offense. That's not the problem. The problem is you shouldn't have been in this situation in the first place. If you had used a condom like you were supposed to, right? Or not cheat at all, right? You could have at least done that. If you had to cheat, you could have at least used a condom, right? But you didn't even do that. 2 L's, cheating and then no protection. You don't get any credit for your sperm being too weak and slow. Okay, that is not a testament to your character that your sperm was too weak and slow to fertilize the egg. of your mistress. You don't get points for that. Sorry. And what's interesting, I love what Carlos King said. He said that he has watched many women in his family basically sacrifice their dreams and their hopes and their desires to protect the fragile egos of the men in their lives. And I mentioned this months and months ago. I talked about the fact that Martell wanted Melody to dim her own light, right? To not take advantage of the gifts and the opportunities and the blessings that God gave her, right, as a woman, because it will make him feel bad about being a man. And Whitney Houston would do the same thing. I keep talking about her because she mentioned that she dimmed her light intentionally to make Bobby Brown feel better about himself as a man, period. Even though the money was there, she was loyal to him. She loved him down, right? They had issues. The fact that she tried to make herself smaller, I felt like she sabotaged her own voice. I felt like she wanted to be on the same level as Bobby Brown, right? Someone who was talented, but not no damn Whitney Houston, not a superstar. So I feel like she subconsciously sabotaged her gift because she felt like her gift was too big for her husband to feel like a man, okay? So Carlos King was 100% right about this. He was 100% right when he said Latisha is growing into her own, and she should not have to be afraid of losing her man because she wants to accomplish her goals. A lot of men tell women that they're not intelligent enough, they're not strong enough, they don't work hard enough, they're lazy, right? To achieve the success and the power and prestige that many men have accomplished in their lives. What these men don't take into account is that many women choose to sacrifice their goals, dreams, and wishes to push their husband ahead of them, to make sure the husband's successful. Because if the husband's successful, then I can stay home and take care of the children better, right? And if the husband's successful, he won't be in my face all the time, bitter, angry, and insecure because I make more money than him, because I'm more popular than him, because I'm more successful than him, because I have more power than him because of this. So many women have fallen back for centuries because a lot of men are too insecure to be with a powerful woman, right? Or if they find a powerful woman, they will try to cuff her really quickly, take control of her, and then use her power to enrich themselves, like what Martell was doing with Melody, right? They see a woman with a gift, and instead of, helping her to become more successful, which Martell did in the beginning, at some point he wants to pimp the wife, right, in favor of a mistress who has absolutely nothing and completely submits to him totally, right? Like Ariane did. So a lot of times when a woman gets too successful, the man weaponizes her success against her by cheating on her with somebody who's not even on her level, who has not accomplished anything. Now, I'm not saying that you're only worthy of being loved and respected if you have professional accomplishments in your education. That's not what I'm saying at all. But there's a stark difference between a woman who basically uses her body for a come up versus a woman who uses her body and her intellect and her skill and her gift to build something to help other people and service the needs of the community and to build a legacy for her family, right? So yeah, anyway, this is what is happening with Latisha. I mentioned this last week. Latisha has to deal with the fact that she may be outgrowing her husband because he needs her to be a certain way in order for him to feel comfortable within himself. He needs her to need him in order for him to feel secure in the relationship. If she doesn't need him anymore, she will be less likely to put up with his infidelity, period. So I need you to need me. And I'm going to do things to you to make you feel insecure about your position in my life. So I'm going to cheat on you the same way you're cheating on me with your goals, okay? Your goals are getting in the way of me being your supreme God ruler man, right? You're supposed to submit to me and bow down only to me, not to your deadlines, not to contracts, not to clients or customers, not to anybody but me. If your attention levels wane because you have other competing obligations, I'm going to feel like you're no longer putting me on a pedestal and I'm no longer essential to your life, basically. And some women go through this too when they have professional husbands who are married to their careers. It happens all the time. But yeah, I hope Latisha leaves Glen. I don't think he's going to change. His reason for cheating was trash. And his reason for cheating will not go away, because as she becomes more successful, he's going to get less attention from her. And he's going to feel less secure. And he's going to have more opportunity to cheat. So the cause of the problem has not been resolved. Even if his sperm was too weak and slow to impregnate the side piece, right? All right. So now on to Soguchi's daughter and JJ's daughters. I don't know her name, I forgot, but Soguchi's daughter is not even a shade, more than a shade darker than JJ's daughters, right? And honestly, I'm going to say this. Sometimes light-skinned people get a bad rap because of the worship they receive from other people, right? So JJ's children are lighter skinned, but they're not much lighter. But they're treated much better by people in their community and by society in general. So their very existence is an attack or an affront on Soguchi's daughter, right? She's constantly reminded of her perceived inferiority, not because of what JJ's daughters are doing, but because of the way society is treating her compared to JJ's daughters. And this is not really fair to JJ's daughters, because I don't think that they fed into it. They benefit from colorism, but they're not the cause of it. We perpetuate it more than anybody else. White people don't have to perpetuate colorism as much, especially in non-Hollywood spaces, right? In corporate America, they don't really have to do it as much because they're already at the top of the food chain. So their position is relatively secure, right? We among each other practice colorism more than anybody. And this happens in the Indian community. This happens in Latin America. This happens in Middle East. It happens everywhere on the planet where there was colonization at some point. So it's not fair for Soguchi to project onto it's not fair for Soguchi's daughter to project onto JJ's daughters her insecurities about colorism, because I don't think they've ever said it. It's just that he mentioned that he gets some shine. He's a very outgoing, charismatic, loud, boisterous person, right? And so he gets attention anyway, and his daughters get attention just by default. And the fact that JJ's daughters have their father, but Soguchi doesn't have her father. There could be some jealousy and insecurity about that too. So you're lighter than me and your daddy's with you. You have your daddy. I don't have my daddy, and people treat you better. So now there's now internalized self-hatred. I am going to go out on a limb and say this is the reason why she chose the baby daddy that she chose. A lot of women in our community choose, and men do it too. It's not always the case. It's not 100%. But a lot of the men and women in our communities who are darker skinned go after lighter skinned people intentionally in the hopes that they will have light skinned babies that they can live through vicariously. Period. It's not always the case, but it happens a lot more often than we are willing to admit. Okay? We can talk about white supremacy all day long, but we practice it among ourselves more than any goddamn body. Period. Okay? So when it comes to Soguchi and his daughters, and her daughter, I don't think that JJ's daughters did anything actively to make her feel some kind of way. I mean, there's going to be tribalism there. They have each other. There's three of them. There's three of them. And it's only one of Soguchi's daughter, right? Soguchi's daughter is by herself. I don't know her name, and I don't feel like looking it up right now. But she's only by herself, and her brother, right? It's her and her brother. Men don't have to deal with colorism to the same extent as women do. Okay, that's just what it is. Black men don't have to deal with it that way, in the same way that black women do. Black men who are darker skinned are criminalized or vilified more for their complexion, like by the police. They're perceived as more dangerous, but women who are lighter skinned are perceived as more beautiful, brighter, and I hate that term, bright. She's bright, as if what? You're dim and dull and dusty looking. So this is a bright. We got to change the language. We have to change the language that we're using to describe each other. We can't complain about things being wrong while we're perpetuating the wrong things. That doesn't make any sense. We can't complain about racism and colorism while we're choosing the lightest partner to procreate with for the purpose of having a light-skinned, good-haired baby. Okay, quote unquote. We can't keep doing it. That makes no sense. That's ignorant as hell, and it makes me very irritated and frustrated. It is hard for me to have sympathy for Soguchi's daughter. Not because her feelings aren't justified per se, but because I'm like, okay, if this is a problem that you're seeing in a society, why are you perpetuating it by internalizing the self-hatred? It's hard not to do that as a young person. I get that, but it's irritating to see us complain about the same thing over and over again and do nothing about that. I've always wondered why darker skinned people don't form their own cliques, their own clubs. Just like the light-skinned people do in the clubs in Miami and New York and California. They say only light-skinned people are allowed to get in. I wonder why the darker-skinned people, chocolate people, brown-skinned people don't come together and say, we're going to have our own clubs, our own establishments, whatever the case may be. And we're going to show a preference for darker-skinned people. I wonder why that never happened. Do you know why that never happened? Because a lot of dark-skinned people also believe in the light-skinned brightness hype. Okay, so they're not going to fight against it. They're going to perpetuate it because they believe in it themselves. So they're going to complain about something that's not benefiting them, that's hurting them, while propagating negative white supremacist racist stereotypes against their own people. Both the black men and black women do this. Black women do it too. There was a story a few years ago about a group of lesbians who were allowing this weird white man to impregnate them. Right? This white man had like hundreds of babies. I forgot what his name was. And he was like basically a human IVF. Right? So a lot of lesbian couples didn't have the money to pay for artificial insemination because you can't not have a baby if there are two of the same genitalia. I don't know why that's so controversial to say. If you have two of the same genitalia, you can't procreate naturally. Right? Regardless of what we feel, that's just the facts. So what ends up happening is that these stud women, these lesbians, what they did was they basically hired or had this guy, this white weird man, impregnate them for free and gave them the baby that they wanted. Most of his clients or customers were black women, black couples. His services were free. I think he was doing this for free. And so the woman like, yay, we get a white baby without having to pay for anything. There are plenty of black dudes in the hood who would be willing to do that. But I believe that many of these women wanted a light-skinned baby. That's why they chose this white man, period. Because there are lots and lots of men who are black, who are willing to do this, who do this all the time, who are sperm donors and don't want to take care of the kids. So why did they choose? It was so many black women on that list. So many black couples, female couples. I noticed a lot of lesbian black women have babies with white men or non-black men. Yes, it is very difficult to find black sperm at a sperm clinic. Yes, I heard stories of women finding like eligible black sperm donors and then buying all the specimens so that no other woman could have the same. That's selfish, but so that their child would not have any siblings from other mothers out there. These women wanted all of the sperm from one eligible black male bachelor for themselves. Like from what I read, black male sperm is highly sought after. Tall, athletic, handsome, educated black men. They're a hot commodity in these spaces. So it's hard for women who are lesbians or straight women even to find an eligible of sperm for themselves, right? And it is what it is. Fine. But anyway, it's not fair for Soguchi's daughter to project her insecurities onto JJ's children. But to be honest, it's not the children's fault because the parents were supposed to broker this conversation. These kids were too young to have such a heavy loaded conversation among themselves in a way that would be compassionate, empathetic, affirming, or whatever. That's the parent's job. So this is the parent's feeling. I can't get mad at Soguchi's daughter for feeling the way she does because her mother did not instill those values within her. Okay? And JJ may not have considered how his antics would have affected his stepdaughter. I'm not saying that they had ill will toward their children. I'm not saying that at all. All parents make mistakes. They didn't know, and now they knew. Okay? So one more thing about the colorism. Aikisha asked Marie if she had an issue with colorism or if she had some internalized self-hatred because she took her ugly message the wrong way. She didn't say they were ugly because of their complexion. That's what she said. She wasn't ugly because of their complexion. It was just a bad photo of them. And Marie was like, oh, it was just shade. We're just throwing shade. I don't believe that for a hot second. I don't believe that for a hot second. Again, I look at the man who Marie chose to father her children. I'm not saying that dark-skinned people can't genuinely love light-skinned people. I'm not saying that at all. That is not what I'm saying, because my mom is darker skinned and my father was much lighter than her, right? And he got hell from his side of the family. But you can have genuine love between people with two different complexions, fine. But because I'm a critical thinker, I'm always asking about people's choices and why people choose the things that they do. Why did you choose that particular partner of that complexion, right? Because I haven't really seen any dark-skinned babies on this show. Except Latisha and Glen's baby. I haven't seen any brown babies on this show. The children and the grandchildren are lighter complected. And with the colorism issues, we cannot act as if these women, and our men in the community too, but a lot of black women choose their partners for lighter skin and good hair. Quote unquote good hair. Right? That is what it is. Those are the facts. Because light skin and curly, non-kinky hair is equity, social equity, right? You get treated differently, your preference more often than not. Look at the NFL and see who they marry. Look at the NBA and see who they marry. Look at these celebrity men and see who they marry. They look like preferences or biracial children, more than likely, or they're not black at all. That's just what it is. So now on to Latrice. Basically, Latrice admits that she got with Cliff because he's like daddy light. And, they have too many issues to have children right now. I wonder what those too many issues are. That's crazy. But she said they have too many issues to have children. And then Carlos was like, you should not feel pressured to have children just because you're in a relationship, right? Which is true. I wonder why nobody asked Cliff why he wants kids so badly. Like, that could have been addressed. Why are you pressing this lady to have children for you when you already got 5 damn kids? That's not fair. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I look forward to reading your comments. I hope I did not offend anybody, light skin or dark skin. I'm not saying that light skinned people are better or dark skinned people are better. I just wish that darker skinned people would represent their brand more. As they say, rep your set. If you're from the brown skin set, then represent that shit for real. I'm not saying shame light-skinned people and attack them for being who they are. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that darker-skinned people or dark-skinned people should have the same spaces that are safe and loving and affirming, right? And supportive that light-skinned people do. Okay? You should have a community or a tribe or a clique or a club or something among yourselves as women and men. Okay? Not a damn pity party where you're like, oh no, woe is me, nobody wants me. No. Have a club celebrating your beauty. Celebrating your dark skin. Just like everybody else does. The Arabs do it, the Hispanics do it, and the light skins do it too. They have the little brown paper bag, Jack and Jill situations going on. They've been had this. So dark skinned people need to do the same thing. Why are you allowing other people to make you feel bad about your own complexion? Running from the issue is not solving the problem. Having mixed babies isn't solving the problem, because now you're going to have children that are Suguchi's daughter's complexion, who's like a brown paper bag color. She would pass the test. And they're still too dark. If they're not pale, it's not good enough. Is that the way we want to go? Is that how we want things to end up for us, right? Talking shit about our oppressors and white supremacy, but at the same time trying to look like them. Is that what's going to happen? For real? Does that make sense to anybody? I'm not talking about wigs and weaves, whatever. But the complexion issue is a real problem for me. That makes no sense. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I look forward to reading your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will speak to you soon.